Well, I think the next one I've got is Groupie Girl. Does that sound right?
That's right. Groupie Girl was once again directed by Derek Ford and written by Derek Ford. And I produced that and did the photography. And that was the story of the groups as that was the Groupie Girl was the girl that followed all the rock groups around. And it was an attempt to sort of depict the life of a groupie, basically, in a dramatic story, and that was quite a musical film. We had a music track, an original music track for that. We had songs. We had the Salon Band. We made up a band from all the from musicians, that were available. It was on gigs, and I think we had a fixer who did, and we had the Salon Band, and we Salon actually produced a record out of that, which was bought by Polygram.
Oh.
It was an LP, and that was issued and did very well. And it was a kind of pop musical thing.
So there weren't any famous pop names in it, or people who became?
No, they weren't. They were sort of no. It was purely fictional. I think they were probably based on pop groups at the time. Probably one could identify with some of them.
Who was the Groupie Girl? Was she?
The Groupie Girl was a girl called Esme Johns who didn't do anything else.
No.
I think she was really an aspiring young actress who was prepared to take her clothes off. I mean, one of the problems we always had, obviously, scenes which were sort of sexual scenes, which were where the bed scenes, as we used to call them, where girls were required to do these things. And I've always said, of course, that the English girls are very reluctant. They get very embarrassed if they did in those days, not so much now. They do it at the drop of a hat, it seems to me. But there was always a problem if the scene required the girl to take her clothes off, or if it required an explicit scene. When I say explicit, I mean a bed scene, And
how did you sort of cast these things? Did you go to an agency and say, we want a girl that will do this?
Yeah, they were usually. There was a woman called May Blizzard that did most of my casting. She was a theatrical casting director. And but it was always a problem, of course, because the actresses, the good actresses, the girls that could act, didn't want to take their clothes off. The girls that couldn't act so well, who didn't mind taking their clothes off, were available. But of course, the thing suffered from not having very good acting. That was the problem.
But then, of course, you also, what has developed is that some of the young girls who did take their clothes off did become good actresses via television.
And of course, the media, being what the media is, and the sort of the English way, they always start bringing up the past in a derogatory fashion, which I think is very bad.
Well,
that's
the tabloid
typical
method, isn't it?
Tabloid newspapers. I don't think it's like that, for example, in France. The French seem to take that kind of thing as quite natural. They don't think anything particularly sensational about it, and that's what happens here. Hence all our sleaze and all the rest of it. They dig up all the so-called dirt. I don't know. I suppose the public have got an appetite for it. Otherwise, they wouldn't do it. But it does seem to me a bit silly because it's part of life, and it's like all these politicians with their mistresses. I mean, in France, it would be considered to be quite natural for a politician to have a mistress, but here they make enormous thing, and their careers are ruined, and God knows what.
But the next one I've got for you doesn't seem to fit into any of these categories by its title, which is Bread.
Bread. Well, no, it does actually, because it was a follow up to Groupie Girl in a way, and
it was very exciting.
No, it was
the word of those days.
Well, it was a terrible film, really, in a way, but it was an attempt. The distributor wanted another groupie girl, because groupie girl was very successful, and I think. And what it was actually, it was the Isle of Wight had a very famous festival group, and we shot the festival one weekend and used that as a background for a story. You
mean a pop festival?
A pop festival, yeah, that's right. It was on the Isle of Wight, and we shot all the crowds and the fans going on the ferry to the Isle of Wight, and the whole film opened with a whole sequence from the Isle of Wight, and then it went into the story of a group of youngsters who hitched back to London and tried to mount a pop festival, because this was the time of Woodstock and all that kind of stuff, and pop festivals were the rage.
So really, the word bread is a slang word of that period.
That's
money,
right,
isn't
money,
it?
Precisely.
Whereas now you look at it and you think, what's he doing?
Well, you see,
about loaves of bread, you know.
What happened was that these independent distributors got into a bit of a twist with all these kind of films. They didn't quite understand the culture, the pop culture. They were really into sex films per se.
Yes.
That sex films get a broad thing, and of course we were trying to make films which were sort of more interesting and not just. And so, you know, they got what they deserved in a way. They got films which were made fairly seriously on the culture that existed at the time, but they didn't really get what they wanted, because we were very anti this kind of explicit nudity for the sake of it. I always felt that, you know, it was very, very difficult to show erotica on screen on its own with mediocre artists. Most of them, I mean, they were young and they were in the beginning of their career. There was a few that made it, but I mean, most of them were never did make it, and it was very difficult to sort of try and do two things. And often we got caught between two stools. We got caught between trying to make a serious film and also in the knowledge that to be commercially successful, it had to have, as the distributors. I mean, I remember one screening. It was bread, I think, and I went there, and the distributors sat there and the thing and said, "Yes, it's very good, but there's not enough tits in it." You know, and that kind of remark used to sort of grate on me, and I remember turning around and saying, "Well, how many tits would you like to see? You know, I mean, how many tits do you think it needs to make it commercial?" And that was the yardstick that they used. And you know, I think there was always a bit of a conflict there, and maybe they were right. Maybe they were right. I don't know. Maybe if it hadn't have had that to sell, they wouldn't have been commercial. I don't know. I really don't. But who knows?
You actually directed Bread, didn't you?
Yes. Yeah, I did.
I don't know if that's the first feature you did.
I think it was. Yes, I think it was. Yes, it was. But I...
Would that be, to sort of see if you could do it? Or was it?
Yes, I was never very keen on directing, to tell you the truth. No. I was very... You see, I think I mentioned this early on, a technician.
Yes.
And I'm more interested in creating, technicians' photography and all that. I'm not a great... I wasn't greatly, but interested in directing. But I did it because I felt it was something I had to do. And I felt that I could probably do better than... with my own films than had been done before. There were certain things that I wanted to do, certain standards that I felt were possible with low budget movies. And from then on, from that, I directed all the films from then on. Except Eskimo Nell.
Oh yes, yeah.
Eskimo Nell, I had a great hand in, but I got a young director who was very new to the game, who I thought had a lot of talent. He'd done one film before and I'd seen it and I was quite impressed with it. And I thought, yes, he's very good. And that was Martin Campbell, who, of course, I was right. He directed, and it was a very talented writer, Michael Armstrong. And Michael Armstrong, I worked with quite a lot from then on. And Michael Armstrong is one of the great underrated writers and of the business. He's quite inspired, actually. And Eskimo Nell was my definitive statement about the sex films and the industry of the sex films. And Michael and I wrote the thing together, and Martin Campbell directed it. And of course, it was sold as a sex film. Of course, it was a little bit more than that, because I think it became a bit of a cult film after. I half financed it with Eagle Films. I lost the rights somewhere along the line because I think Eagle Films went bust and then sold the rights on, and I lost them for some reason. I have still got a copy of the film, but I think that was a very good film, and I think history will look at that. And if you ever want to see a light-hearted comedic look at the sex film industry, that's the film I think is the definitive film which says what was going on. It's a little exaggerated, but not much. And actually, all the things in there are loosely based on fact. They are people that were in the industry, and yes, they're not identified, but I know who they are. And they were based on people who were in the industry, the distributors, and mainly the distributors. And it's a very funny film. Very funny.
I agree with you, actually, because it's one of probably the only film of yours I've actually seen. But I enjoyed it. It was shown at that. It was a special festival some years ago, wasn't it? What was that cinema up off Tottenham Court Road at the top end? There was an all-day or a weekend festival of people like Pamela Green were there, and Harrison Marks, and they showed examples.
Oh, that's fine. Yes, I seem to remember. Yeah, but that I think that actually is a film that should be watched by anybody who's studying what went on in the 60s and the 70s, because that was made in 1974, and of course we had Roy Kinnear in it.
That's right.
Wonderful.
Yes, Roy Kinnear.
And we had a lot of quite well-known people in there. Was Anna Quayle was in it. There was Timothy the vet, Christopher Timothy.
Oh, Christopher Timothy, that's right.
He was in it. There was Kate Manning, Christopher Biggins. I think we had them all in there, and it was bizarre, the film, but it was a serious sort of film in a way. It was cocking a snoot at the people who were in the industry, and I think anybody who wants to know anything about that period watches that film, and they've got it all in one. That was my definitive statement of the sex business, and I didn't really do any more sex films after that.
You went into comedies, really.
And I was really more interested in comedy. I found that I had a very great interest in comedy. I studied comedy, visual. My films were the adventures films, really, which were the films that I did then, which were written and directed or written with cooperation of other writers, and I enjoyed making those. I mean, I really enjoyed Adventures of a Taxi Driver, and Adventures of a Private Eye, and Adventures of a Plumber's Mate. And when I'd done Adventures of a Plumber's Mate, I thought I've done enough, because I was getting a bit tired, and I can never understand how people can manage to do 24 like the Carry Ons did.
Oh, yes.
And keep going and keep going. I hate repeating myself, and I suppose 3, and I thought that was the end of it.
Yeah.
Really, that was enough. I'd split it out. I'd lost interest.
Mm.
But I think they were very successful commercially, of course, and they made me a great deal of money because I had all the 100% of the rights.
Oh.
I didn't.
Mm.
I never got, and I still have 100% of the rights to this day, and they're sold to television, and I mean they just run them again on Bravo, I think it is. And,
oh yeah.
They're actually negotiating. Channel 5 actually are negotiating, except they won't pay me enough money. They pay peanuts. I mean, it's a joke. I mean, television is a joke. I mean, the television want to spend nothing on programs, and they just don't want to spend anything. And I mean, it's obvious the way television is, how mediocre it is. Television now. I mean, I watched. I think television's terrible. I think the standard of entertainment on television is abominable. I think the only thing that's on television is the old films that are very interesting. I mean, but all these interminable game shows, anything that's cheap,
and those awful chat shows,
anything
all day
that's
long,
cheap.
they have those hours.
If you can give television a formula which doesn't cost them any money, which is gonna make an hour's program, I think they'd be interesting. If you went to any of the television programs, so I've got this idea, it's going to cost £2,000 for an hour's television, they buy it unseen. But that's all they're interested in, is how little they can put the program on for. And all these programs are designed for that. They involve the audience. I mean, they're even getting the bloody public to act now. All these fly-on-the-wall films, which are out now. I mean, they're terrible. I mean, all the actors are unpaid actors, and they've cottoned onto this, and they've done everything. I mean, they're using the public to make their programs. It's a terrible state of affairs. There seems to be no regulation,
and all these things which are superficially very attractive, like these collectors programs, half-hour collectors programs that are off and on. And I was asked to go on one, show them my collection, but they don't pay you.
Well, that's
they
it.
Think
that's my whole
point. Show off
point.
your collection for nothing.
Well, that's my whole point.
They don't want to pay anybody,
isn't it? But they're all earning fortunes. The executives of television, and they're buying and selling each other, and it's a whole big thing. I mean, I don't want to get on my political hobby horse, but I think that there is some form of regulation really that's needed somewhere, because otherwise we're just going to get fed a diet of mediocrity.
And commercials.
And commercials. Well, I think the commercials are probably more interesting than the programs, actually. In fact, sometimes you don't know what you're watching, whether you're watching a commercial or whether you're watching a program. But, I mean, occasionally there's some brilliant stuff, but very occasionally. I think and they'll say, oh, well, that's what the public want. I mean, the answer is the public will take what they're given.
Watch it,
They have no voice. And, to talk about ratings is rubbish, because ratings are only relative. I mean, they don't have lots of people saying, yes, we love that program. All they've got is, yes, people have switched it on. They probably switched it on anyway, and they're not watching it, because television has become a background to domestic living. It's moving wallpaper. I mean, just because someone's got a television set on doesn't mean to say they're watching it. And, they often put these programs on at peak viewing times. The peak viewing times are when everybody gets home and puts the television on. So, I mean, obviously there are less people watching television at 1 o'clock in the morning than there is watching it at 7 o'clock, or watching it or having it on, shall I say. People don't turn televisions off. I mean, my television's on at home. My wife puts it on to keep the dogs amused, but nobody watches it. I know. I go in sometimes and the television's on. I think, well, why is the television on? She said, oh, it's company for the dogs. Great. I said, it's about what it's worth. I think. But,
listen, we must get back on your career.
Okay.
You've jumped ahead really with Eskimo now, because following Bread, we've got you being a very documentary again, I suspect. The Navy is a ship. I got 1971.
Yes, that was a film that I did for the Ministry of Defence. It was a leftover, really, from the old days.
Oh, was it?
But, yes.
Did you make it long ago, or was it?
No.
You made it.
It was a compilation as well of Ministry of Defence material, and it was a prestigious film for the Navy. See, I have great contrasts in my career, and it was a prestige film about the Navy, and it was really about the disappearance of the aircraft carriers. The aircraft carriers had gone into demise, and the Navy the Ministry of Defence made this film as a sort of morale boosting film for internal use, and it was a chest thumping film, It was a.
Did they come to you because of the past things you've done?
Oh yes, because of the past stuff.
Not because you were an ex-certificate filmmaker.
Oh God, no. I mean, it was just pure.
Yes.
It was a contract. It was a paid contract. I mean, it did get a showing actually, because the film got a showing at the Leicester Square Odeon.
Oh yeah.
It was put out with, I can't remember what it went out with. It went out with a thing. I got them a distribution for it. I can't remember the distribution company, but they wanted it to be seen widely. It was a very entertaining film, very informative, and a lot of archive material.
Was it feature length?
No, it was about 40 minutes.
Oh, 40 minutes.
Yeah, it was a feature length. Not feature, 40-minute length, which was, it was a lot of archive material in it, and a bit of up-to-date stuff, and it was a compilation film, really. And, I was quite proud of that, and never actually. In the time, I've lost the copy, but I guess it's probably at the Ministry of Defence in the archives. I'm sure.
Yeah, that's interesting. The next one I've got down is Naughty, 1972.
Yeah, that was before all the others.
Oh, was it?
Well, 1972. I do.
Oh, it must be.
The chronological order of these things escapes me, but certainly. Yeah, it was before Eskimo Now.
Yes, it's before.
Yes, Naughty was a dramatised documentary. 70 odd minutes, 80 minutes long, dealing with the history of erotica, pornography and erotica. And really it says a lot of the things that I've been talking about now with regard to censorship. It was a fairly serious approach to that. And it had some purpose, and it's a very educative film, really. And it goes in, and it's very factual. It goes into how erotica, right back to the Dark Ages, basically, and the onslaught of movies when they started to move. Various famous cases of erotica, and it's illustrated along the line, and in that we went to the Wet Dream Film Festival in Amsterdam. There was a pornographic film festival in 1971 which was held in Amsterdam, where all the major cinemas, because it's got to be remembered that England is a pretty naive country when it comes to sex. America's far more open. Certainly Holland and the continent are far more open. And they, even in 1971, there was a big business in pornographic films. I mean, really hardcore pornographic films. And they had this festival in 1971. And that's virtually, in that film, is a record of that festival. And there were people like Germaine Greer there, and she's in the film. Heathcote Williams, who was from the Sloane Court Theatre. There's Al Goldstein, who was the editor of a magazine, a rather outrageous magazine in America called Screw, quite famous. And there was the director of Greenleaf Publications, which published the presidential report on pornography, which Nixon, I think it was Nixon, inaugurated, spent £2 million on. It came up that pornography was not harmful, so he banned it. He banned the publication. So that, I mean, it was that's what they do. It didn't come up with the
what he wanted.
What he wanted, so he banned it. Anyway, it was all there in the film, and
did you have archive film clips?
We did have archive film, and I, funny enough, used some of the archive material from West End Jungle, which we'd recreated the prostitutes walking up and down Piccadilly and all that. We'd recreated, and I used some of that material in Naughty, but it was a very serious study of pornography and erotica, dressed up as a sort of thing, and of course sold by the distributors once again as a sex movie. Yes, that was that, and then I followed that on with On the Game, of course, which was a similar treatment, dramatised documentary of prostitution, which that was going into the history of prostitution, and virtually said, here it is, and this is it, and it will never ever change, in spite of legislation. It will certainly never change, and they'll always be around in one form or another. So that was, they were quite serious films. When I say serious, I mean they were that. Actually, I did put a lot of commentary, a lot of comedy in them, because I felt that is a way of, you have to be a bit light-hearted sometimes in these things to make it more entertaining. So it was a balance. Yeah, it was a balance. Very difficult to explain it, but you know, if people, they're on video, I think, or I don't know where they are. I didn't actually retain the rights on those, although I had certain rights in them.
Really, isn't it? Because
I'd made them and I hadn't actually.
Days,
yes.
Because there's so much.
Well, you know, we don't. The trouble is we're all so bloody busy that we don't.
No, I know. You can't be a businessman and creative, to be honest.
It's difficult.
I think you've done very well, really.
Well, I've retained quite a few things, and I've got a pretty good memory, which helps. But yeah.
So the next one I thought, hang on, Sex and the Other Woman.
Well, that was the one I was. Yes, that was another one. That was what was that? 1971.
72. I've got.
Was it 70? Yes, it was 72. Yeah, that was another light-hearted attempt to a theme, which was 4 stories, 4 short stories. Yeah. Once again, on my principle of the shorter the bit, if you can. It was really bad. I mean, they did quartet, didn't they? I mean, there's been quite a few. Oh yeah, that has a lot of advantages actually from the point of view. You make a film which is actually 4 segments, but they're all linked together by a common theme or something, and then you've got a feature film, which actually you've been shooting on a documentary budget.
Yes, I was on quartet.
You were?
Yeah,
oh, really?
Against yeah. All Somerset Maugham.
Yeah.
Somerset Maugham. That was the first one, wasn't it? And then there was Trio, and then there was Encore.
Yeah, the other thing is, of course, that I suppose really we were always, I mean, I was always trying to be a good union member in those days, and I always sort of worked with them. Who was the... it was Brian Shemmings, I think, was the guy I used to see. Yeah, and of course, working on that basis, I was able to do a feature film with a documentary crew. We did 4 and then put them together. It was a bit of a cheat, really, and I don't think they'd approved.
Was there a single theme
at the time? But probably in hindsight, they might. Yes, there was. It was The Other Woman. It was 4 little stories. 4 little stories of men who were cheating on their wives and got caught, basically. I mean, and the other woman, I mean, the mistress.
It wasn't always the same other woman in stories,
no, it wasn't. No, they were 4 different stories concerning the other woman.
Who wrote it?
Derek Ford.
Oh, it was Derek Ford.
Was it Derek Ford? No, I don't think it was. No, it wasn't Derek Ford. It was Alistair Reid, I think. Alistair Reid, yeah.
No, I don't know him.
Yes, it was. Basically, once again, what I used to do, I'm not very good at writing, but I'm good at ideas. And I used to sit down and make the idea, and then the writer would come and put it into English, as it were.
Let me just check. Oh, the next one is Eskimo Now, which you've more or less dealt with.
Yes, really.
Then I've got a film with 2 titles. It Could Happen to You, or
Yes.
Intimate Teenage Secret.
Yes. Interesting little piece, this. It was nothing to do with me at all. This was, when I say it was nothing to do with me, I mean, it wasn't inaugurated, it wasn't initiated by me. It was Michael Green, who actually is still in the business and runs entertainment films. He had a film from Australia, which was very, very bad, but he said he thought it was a good idea, and would I be interested in remaking it to an English audience? And I looked at this film. It was a film which was a film really anti-VD. It was anti-VD, and I said, well, how, you know, I think it's a very difficult subject to make into a commercial film, frankly. This is more of a, you know, who wants to watch this sort of thing, you know? And I said the only way that it could be done, and I was interested in comedy, and I thought, well, I'd have a go at comedy. I said, I think it can be done with a sort of tongue-in-cheek and a bit, you know. You must have comedy in it, otherwise nobody's going to watch it. A certain comedy element with a serious background.
Because there have been, just to interrupt, in the 30s, the Americans started making films about VD, which were serious, and they used to have these audiences, all male or all female. Do you remember those? And like Birth of a Baby, well, that's right. The VD one, but that's right. There were several of those.
Well, this is it. And I said to Michael Green, I said, look, he said, well, I've got the budget for it, and I'd like you to do it on a sort of fixed budget and all that. So I said, well, I'll go and think about it. And I thought about it. I said, well, the only way I think that you can do it is to have a serious line and then do dramatic illustrations and maybe keep them a bit of comedy in it, you know, and then maybe it becomes entertaining, because I said, otherwise you're going to preach. And you know, certainly you can't preach. It was a very difficult one, actually, but I came up with a script, with an idea that, and I went to see the head of the Middlesex Hospital, Dr. Cattrall, who ran the clinic in Charlotte Street. It was the James Pringle Clinic. And I put the idea to him, and he thought it was a very good idea, because he said that most of the venereal disease things were coming from young people. There was this permissive, the leftover from the permissive 60s, and you know, there was a tremendous amount of venereal disease about, and it was being contracted by youngsters who weren't wearing any. There's no talk of AIDS in those days. I mean, AIDS was really not. I mean, there wasn't. I don't think they discovered it. It was really venereal disease, gonorrhea and syphilis and various non-specifics. And he said he'd be very interested to. He read the script and he said, I'd be very interested to sponsor it, you know, to be in it, and I'll give you my cooperation. And I said, because if we're going to do it, I said, I'd like to get it accurate. And he was in the film, and we were really going back to the way I did Wife Swappers with the pseudo psychiatrist, except for this time we had a proper. He was a qualified. I mean, he was the governor in charge of the thing, with the white coat and everything, and he spoke about the serious side of things, and then it was interspersed with scenes of youngsters and teenagers and the way they pick it up and the way they transmit it to one another, all sorts of things. And we put a bit of a comedy thing in it, in so much as, you know, the governor getting it from the secretary and having to go home and tell his wife, and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And it was quite good. I don't know, whatever, I haven't got a copy of it. I don't know whether it exists still. It was put out by a distributor afterwards and renamed Once It Could Happen to You, which was our title, and they changed it to
Intimate Teenage Secrets.
Of course they would, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
But it didn't do anything, I don't think. And frankly, I wasn't too. It was a good platform for me to practice my comedy routines.
Well, that obviously gave you the taste for it, because then you launched into your.
Well, there was one particular scene in I remember where there was a couple driving in a car, and she said she'd got gonorrhea, and I remember he slammed the brakes on her. You know, it was that kind of comedy, you know, and nearly smashed into the car in front, and you know, said, "What did you say?" You know, and that kind of thing. But yeah, then I went into doing. What was the year of that?
Well, that I've got for 75.
Yes. That's probably right. Yeah, that was just before Adventures of a Taxi Driver.
Yeah, which I suppose came out in 76, because you've got Adventures of a Plumber's Mate.
Private
Eye 77.
Yeah, I think it came out in 75.
Do you?
Taxi Driver, yes. Taxi Driver, The Adventures of a Taxi Driver was a huge success. It was the first film that I'd financed totally since This, That and the Other. And the budget was a very meagre £30,000. It was shot on 16mm.
Oh, wasn't it?
And it was blown up to 35. Nobody ever knew that, I don't think. It was played a full EMI circuit release. And I remember being down in Cannes at the film festival, 1975, and Bob Webster, who was the managing director of EMI Cinemas at the time, came up to me on the beach, and he said, "You know, your film opened, Stanley, and this week." I said, "Yeah, I know." He said, "You realise," he said, "what's happening?" He said, "It is breaking all records." He said, "I'm so pleased for you." I said, "I don't believe it." You know, he said, "Believe me." He said, "They're queuing up." He said, "We're playing to packed houses." This was following Jaws. And he said, "I think you've got a film which is going to take nearly as much money as Jaws." I said, "Don't be silly," you know. So he said, "No," he said, "I'm serious." He said, "I'd like to take you out to dinner tonight." So he took me out to dinner, and I sort of dashed back home because I couldn't believe this. I mean, it was apparently, he was just full of it. He said, "It's just taken something, it's done this, it's taken that amount of money,
Amazing,
this amount of money."
Because the title is not exactly an attention grabber. I wouldn't have thought that much.
Not at all.
It doesn't imply sex, does it?
But the film worked.
Yes.
And that was actually, although I began to believe that perhaps I wasn't right, that a film had to work with an audience and then it would be successful. I always thought it was the publicity and blah, 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 blah. I was led to believe that. But I remember Michael Armstrong, who'd done some of the writing, most of the thing we worked on together, and there was a girl called Susan Mercer, a woman writer, and we'd written the script together. And I remember taking Michael Armstrong up to, it was playing at the Birmingham New Street, which was the big cinema. And I remember going up there because I came back from Cannes very early in order to see this film opening, because it was out in the Midlands. No, if you remember, the circuit release in those days used to operate at best on 40 prints, and it used to go area by area.
Yes.
There was 2 circuits, more or less. There was ABC, EMI, ABC EMI,
yes,
and Odeon,
yes,
Rank. They were the 2 big circuits, and you either hooked up with one or the other. Generally speaking, your films went with. In my particular case, I was with EMI, and of course, this was the first film that I'd had on my newly formed company, Alpha Films, which was a distribution company, which was formed specifically so that I could market the film and have a say in the distribution for once. This was the first time, and I'd started Alpha Films. the distributor. It was an independent distributor. We'd started it. My brother joined me. That's when my brother joined me. And he and I started Alpha Films. And it was in an effort to be able to have control over the destiny of my movies, basically. Because I was really determined to get the whole picture. Not have this nonsense of changing titles and things by fairly uncreative people, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And so I thought the only way to control it is to start my own distribution company, which I did. And so this was very important to me, because to have a success on the first film with the first distribution of the first start of the distribution was very important. And so I came back from Cannes and got in the car, and I drove up to Birmingham, to the ABC Birmingham, New Street, and there was this queue outside, and I said to Michael Armstrong, I said, look at that. I said, look at that queue, it's 4 deep, queuing up for our film. So he said, oh, I can't believe that, you know. And I said, and then we went along and we saw that the queue was down the side of the cinema as well, which was unbelievable. So we drove down that street and found that it was, the queue went right the way around the block, and it was playing to packed houses, and that was happening all over. And we went into the film and realised that we got a hit because the audience were just falling about. I mean, it was a very funny film. It worked.
Who was the star?
Barry Evans.
That's right, Barry Evans.
Who was, you know, he did Mind Your Language. He was a television. He'd done Doctor in the House. And
oh, yes.
He'd done quite a lot of television. He was a lovely little comedy actor.
Yes.
We had Bob Lindsay in it. There was quite a few bits of talent there. Bob Lindsay. There was Judy Geeson.
Oh, was she in it? Yes.
Adrian Poster, who was absolutely brilliant. Very underestimated, underrated, I think. Brilliant artist.
Yes.
You remember her in The Mitzvah Boy?
Yes.
You may have seen that, The Mitzvah Boy by Rosenthal, wasn't it? Wonderful. Yeah. I mean, she was wonderful in the film. There were a lot of, there was Stephen Lewis, who was Blakey in the Buses, who everybody loved, you know, the little Hitler character that he had. And it was a great success with the audience, and that's why it was successful, because it was word of mouth, and it made a lot of money. It was a very big grosser. In fact, it was number 8 in the top 10 for EMI that year, which for a film which cost £30,000 was quite unique, and I don't think that probably ever got I don't think that ever really came out, because in those days I was very secretive about these things. And it's there we are, and that was number 8 there, Adventures of a Taxi Driver.
Oh yes.
Yeah, number 8 that year. And see what number 1 was?
Jaws, yes.
That's right. I mean, that deserved it. I mean, let's face it. But to be number 8 in a 10 lineup with Jaws, I think proved that we had it. And we did that without any explicit
beat Emmanuel
nonsense.
too.
Yeah, it wasn't anything to do with how much flesh was shown or anything like that. It was just very funny. And the audiences rolled about laughing. And I was very pleased, because it meant, because comedy is a very difficult thing to do. And it needs a lot of study. It's the choreography of things, the timing. Very difficult to do comedy. And
I see both pages in this Screen International are yours.
Oh, it was quite big.
And this continued from an earlier page too.
Yes.
So you did well. 19th of February 1977.
That's right. And then, of course, that spurred me on.
Oh, there's the young Stanley A.
Yeah, very young. Yes. Terrible, isn't it? Well, it says, see, I said it here in this this issue of Screen. I said, I don't think anyone can find it erotic to see 2 people humpy-bumpy on a bed. It's like comedy. If you take it too far, you go over the top and blow it. And of course, most people have taken it too far. I'm talking about contemporary exploitation filmmakers. They were pushed into it by a lot of distributors who thought, in my opinion, quite wrongly, that the way to present sex on the screen was, in fact, in an explicit fashion. The famous cry was for more tits and arses. I've heard it many, many times, and you can't base audience figures and business on that. There's probably more sex in our comedies than in most sex films, but we don't show it. And I felt here, I was quoted as saying that my forte is visual rather than verbal, and he asserts that although critics pointed up resemblances between the two Adventures series, it's really very different to Greg Smith's Confessions trilogy, which relied a lot on double entendre, like the Carry-Ons, but the Carry-Ons have become a cult, but in those days they were considered to be a bit not quite thing. But I don't know, it's just it's an opinion. But that was my my opinion. I didn't think that the success of these films relies on the amount of flesh shown. I think it was, and up to then I'd been given that impression all the time by distributors. I felt that you had to make an entertaining piece, and people had to go and sit in the cinema and see the bloody thing. And, you know, unless you're going to do a totally... I mean, we got the wrong audiences for a lot of these films, like Eskimo Nell. They were sold incorrectly. They were, you know, the men that were after seeing sex, which really they would have wanted to see very explicit sex films, a very minority audience. And it wasn't until... Well, one of the things we got with the Wife Swappers, of course, was couples going in, which was kind of unheard of, you know, couples actually, because it was a subject that dealt with couples. And couples were going in. With comedy, we were getting bigger audiences with the Adventures films. We sold Adventures of a Taxi Driver in 57 overseas territories.
Good gracious.
In 1970s, which proved one thing, that they were very visual, they worked, they cut across language barriers, and they were visual. And they worked very well. They worked in Germany, they worked in France. I have French versions, German versions. It was put in to subtitles. It was played in Israel. It was played all over the world, even America. We sold to America eventually. But the Americans have always been very frightened of English comedy, you know, because they had films. I remember talking to an American distributor once about he wouldn't take the Adventures. I said, they will work, I promise you. Oh, no, we don't want to know. It's a British comedy, and British comedy don't work in the States. No, I said, why we've had so-and-so and so-and-so film. I said, but the film's bad in England as well. It's not funny. So it won't be funny in America. So why are you saying it won't work? Try it. No, we don't want to know. And they were the same with the Python. They were the same with Benny Hill. But when they started putting them out, they found the audiences loved them. I mean, Python became big in America. And yet at first they didn't want it. They didn't want to know about it. They didn't understand it. And the Americans are very, very anti-British, or were anti-British comedy. And of course, for the main part, I can understand that, because there were a lot of films that were made as comedy films which were totally unfunny. So, you know, you cannot make an audience laugh. And this is one of the things, I believe you can gauge an audience reaction in a comedy by the fact whether they respond, they laugh or not. And you can also gauge it to a slightly lesser extent on a horror film where they get frightened. But don't try and watch an audience's reaction or ask an audience. This business of screenings they have, and they ask people to fill in forms. You're not going to get the truth. This is rubbish. And with my comedies, I always said, go to the cinema with an audience and see the damn thing and see if it works or not. Don't try and judge whether it's funny. You need an audience. There's one of the problems with television, of course. You need an audience for a proper comedy. And that, I was so pleased with the reaction on Taxi Driver that I made a recording of the audience's reaction, the laughter, and played it as a radio commercial. It spoke for itself.
That's a good idea.
But that was really, I made the trilogy and I felt that I'd done enough. I didn't feel that I could make a fourth. There was talk of, and that we were going to go through all the trades, but I felt that we were going to repeat ourselves a lot on a lot of the gags.
The second one was Private Eye, of course, eventually Private Eye, which sounds the most promising of the three to me, you know, as a title.
Yes. No, it wasn't, actually. It was, I think it was less, it captivated the audience slightly less than Taxi Driver. It was very successful. It was a bit more expensive. I think the budget was about 50,000 on that. So,
well, you've got bigger names in the cast too.
Yes, well, that's what cost the money.
Dawes,
I had Diana Dawes, I had Harry H. Corbett, I had Willie Rushton, I had John Pertwee, there was Fred Emney, good old Fred Emney, as a cameo part. But the big problem with that was that Barry Evans didn't want to do a second one.
Oh, what a shame.
Despite my approaches to him and giving him a share of the movie and all this, that and the other, he didn't want to do another one because he really didn't want to get typecast.
Yes.
It was a shame, really, because
he died, didn't he? Quite young.
He got murdered, actually.
Oh, was it?
And ironically enough, he was driving a taxi. He ended up driving taxis in Wales somewhere.
Good gosh.
And he was murdered because he was gay. He made no secret of that, and I think it was one of these gay murders. I don't know. It was widely reported in the paper. Very sad. But he was so good at comedy. He was so good. He could throw a glance at the camera to the audience, which is something that's very difficult to do. Not many actors can do this. Caine did it. Michael Caine did it, and it was in Alfie.
Oh, in Alfie, yeah.
And he did, and Barry Evans was very good at it, and that sort of brings your audience into the movie. But there's very few artists that can handle that one. But he wouldn't do the second one, unfortunately. That was one of the biggest disappointments of my career, really. Because had he have gone in the second one, I think that it would have been that much better. Which is no disrespect to the bloke who did it, but he wasn't so experienced at that particular genre as Barry Evans. And Christopher Neal, who was rather more a musician, he was than an actor, he did the second one and the third one. He was good, but not as good as Barry Evans. And neither of those two films had quite the success of the first one, The Taxi Driver. And that was one of the other reasons. I just didn't want to keep making them just for the money. It was I'd got the money by then. It was I had independence that I'd never dreamed of, and in fact we purchased other films, and we became number one. We were one of the biggest independent distributor, Alpha Films, in the country in that period. And we bought films in. We had all the Cronenberg films, the Shivers, Rabid, The Brood, all those films from Cronenberg we distributed in this country. The Exterminator, which was a very successful movie, and Creep Show, the George Romero trilogy, Creep Show, and Raw. We bought films from America, and we travelled the world and bought films from all over and brought them to England and distributed them here as an adjunct to. Well, we had to keep the distribution company fed with product.
Yes, I
I mean,
suppose
it wasn't
so.
obviously going to be just my product, but
No.
I was able to control my product. And then we were approached, because video was just coming in the early 80s, and that was another big market opening up. And we were approached in 1982 by John Bentley.
What, the actor?
No,
No,
the financier. He was quite well known in the 60s and 70s. He had a company called Intervision, which was one of the largest. It was a PLC company. It was one of the largest video companies that were going at the time, and we did a deal with them for the Adventures films, which were highly successful, and they saw in Alpha the opportunity to acquire product, because one of the problems with distribution, with acquisition of product for video in the old days was, of course, that they didn't get a chance to get the thing. They had to go to distributors that had already bought the film for cinemas, and then they had to sort of get them from the distributors. What they wanted was to get a flow of product, and there were a lot of films, of course, that never got screened in cinemas. Lots and lots of films that came from overseas that never ever got a chance of a release here. So what they wanted to do was to acquire a distribution company in order to be able to get hold of product and be able to put them on and give them a theatrical window so that they could then exploit the video. So, as is the case with PLCs, rather than start a company up, they want to buy one. So they came courting us, and they wanted to buy Alpha Films. And Alpha Films sort of, well, obviously was interested. I mean, I wasn't that interested in distribution. It was a thing that was foisted on me, really. And they, what I had done, I'd been able to do some shorts, because there was a little window there where we bought films in from overseas, and we were able to play not documentaries with them like it was in the past, but you could do a little featurette. And I was making films. I made 3 films called, one was called Dream House. The other one was called, one of them was called That's the Way to Do It, which was about a Punch and Judy man who went a bit berserk, and his dolls came to life, and they were horror films. And basically I wanted to prove something else, that I could make an audience jump, which is not an easy thing to do, contrary to what people might think. It doesn't actually result, it doesn't come about through making a big loud crash of music out of silence or anything like that. There's a certain choreography about it, which I'd studied. And I made Dream House as a little story with Michael Armstrong, which did just that. And it was put out with The Exterminator. And I had reviews to say that The Exterminator worked better, the Dream House, the short, worked better than the feature, which was rather nice, considering they were both doing very good business. So, so that was, but I was fiddling about by then, because I had a lot of business interests by then, and so.
Anybody in these shorts particularly?
There was.
Worry too much about?
No, not really. There was
Names?
nothing. No, there was no star name. No, not really. They were competent actors and actresses, you know. And there was 3, actually. I can't remember the life of me. Do You Believe in Fairies? That was Dora Bryan. Yeah, that was. We had Dora Bryan in that, and Anderson. What's her name? Jean Anderson.
Jean Anderson, yes.
Who I see is one of your subjects on the list.
Oh, on the list,
yeah, she was in it, because she did Tenko and all that on television. But yes, that was a. They were sort of little films that we made just to go out with. But the Takeo, we were bought out by Intervision for a rather large sum of money. And that was the end of the distribution company, and they sort of got what they wanted. And we of course, they never had nothing in Alpha. They didn't have any of the rights of the Adventures films. I've always retained those right the way through. They just had the distribution rights. That's all. That's really all that Alpha Films ever had, was the distribution rights to films. Most of them were from overseas.
Yes.
And anyway, that was I was appointed to the board of the company for 2 days a week at a ridiculous salary. I mean, ridiculously large. I was with my brother, Peter. We were, because I put Peter was the sort of co-producer on the Adventures films and things. And we went around to film markets, the American film markets, and Cannes and Milan and places like that, to sort of view films and acquire them for Alpha, as we'd done before. We had much more money to do that, because obviously it was a large company. They had a lot of money, and they were very big. Intervision actually turned into these things. They metamorphosed into things like Intervision merged into Ritz Video, and then Ritz Video into Blockbuster. And you know, Blockbuster's the big thing, and the original directors of that, I think, are still in it, like Bev Ripley, and I don't know if John Bentley's got anything to do with it now, but that was a whole business scene which opened my eyes to the way public PLCs run. And not a very pretty picture. I mean, it's all paperwork and politics, and didn't really sit very well on my shoulders. And I resigned from the directorship as soon as I'd done my term, and came out of it. And by that time, I'd started to rent equipment out.
We should actually mention that those 3 shorts you put together under the heading of Scream Time.
That's correct. They were put together in my old method. I re-edited them and put the linkage shots. We went to New York and filmed some inserts to link them together. Because there were 3 horror films. And they linked together. There's always a way of linking them together. And we put them out as a feature, not as a feature film, but as a feature on video. And it was quite successful, I believe. But
I haven't seen that. Was it released here in England?
It was, by Medusa.
Yes,
it's around. And it was it was an American. It was sold to an American company. It was released in America as well. That was the last film I did.
Yes. But why did you do it under pseudonym?
I did it because I tell you why. Because I had been known for variously for making sex films and this, that and the other, and I had aspirations to make films at that time, serious films, and I really didn't like the stigma that went with it, because I felt my films were being locked into other people's kind of ways. There were a lot of other films that were really of they had no merit whatsoever, and they were being collected together into a thing of it still is categorized.
Yes, of course.
They still are. You know, I mean, when I sell to television, they categorize me in with a lot of other films, which I say, you know, this film has got the entertainment value in the Adventures has got nothing to do with the films that you're talking about. They're not sex films per se. They went round on a circuit. I know sounds as if I'm protesting or anything, but it was immensely successful. I mean, a film that clocked number 8 in the EMI list and number 19 out of the top 20 in the whole of the country for 1975 is not any old film. And I was constantly annoyed by this. I had to say, see the film. You know, these people do not see the film. They won't look at it. They just categorize it, and it becomes a commodity, a piece of whatever. So I decided that if I was going to change stream, I ought to change my name, because they say, oh, Stanley Long, that's the bloke who made all those horrible little sex films, isn't it? So I took the name, my mother's maiden name, Beresford, and my father's surname, Christian name of Alfred, and I called myself Al Beresford. And did the film. I don't think anybody was fooled, but obviously, but that's all I did. And then I tried to make a film, which after that, which I was going to, because I decided that it's about time I made a bigger budget film, so I wasn't going to put the money up for that. I mean, I did things that people would never do in this business. I actually financed most of my films. They were self-financed. And that's a very dangerous thing. And come to think of it, it's a disastrous thing to do. I mean, I even sold a house that I was living in to make Adventures of a Taxi Driver. I mean, stupid, some would say, but it happened to work. But I had a script called Doris, which was 1984, and I tried to get it set up, and because one of the problems, because I'd actually financed all my films myself, I had no track record of raising finance.
Oh, yes.
So, you know, the obvious answer was, why don't you do it yourself, you know? Well, I want to do it, you know. So suddenly I was confronted with this situation. If I was going to go forward making films, I had to increase the budget, and it was a good script. It was a comedy. It was a comedy. And I took it to America, and of course, actually taking things to America, forget it. They just nicked the idea. And it was before all. And I began to see films coming out in this genre, which was quite a coincidence, because that script had been around in the States before a lot of films, and it was plagiarized. I mean, there's no doubt about it. There were films that were coming out which were exactly the theme of the film that I'd done, and almost sort of scene for scene. And I got very disillusioned with that idea. And the budget, which was 5 million, which was a comparatively low budget in terms of films, was a very high budget for me, and it would have enabled me to have done a film with more of an international film. And it didn't come across, and I think always, you know, one has that, and I decided that the window of opportunity for low budget films had passed, and that my track record in big budget films was non-existent. So therefore I thought prudence is the better part of valor. I'll sort of give it a miss for the minute. Nobody now has ever asked me to go back to direct a film, probably because they think I don't need it. But I see people making low budget films who really need a bit of help in hand, and they are first time directors who blow it. I've seen it happen time and time and time again. And without being cynical about it, I mean, you do need most experience when you're doing those things, and I think you need a build up there. I think the way I did it is not possible anymore. I really do. Although I was talking to Peter Walker the other day, we were out having dinner together. I see him very often, and he said, "You know, Stanley," he said, because he owns cinemas now. You know, he owns quite a lot of cinemas, and of course he's been very prolific as well and very successful. I think you ought to get hold of him and get him to talk, because he's got a few stories to tell.
I'm sure.
Very nice man. Very nice. We've been friends for.
I met him when he was making 8mm films.
Well, we had parallel careers. I've been friends with Pete Walker for. We were sort of rivals in a way, but we've both watched each other over each other's shoulders. And we've ended up very good friends now, and we go to each other's houses. We have dinner, and he was saying to me, he said, "Stanley, you know," he said, "I see a window of opportunity coming for you and I. I think our type of film, I think it's going to come back." And he probably may have been thinking of things like Blair Witch Project and things like that. I don't know, but he was saying that he just feels that the window, because he did the same thing as I did virtually. I mean, we both made our last film around 1982. He made The House of the Long Shadows that was a wonderful thing, really. He got together, very funny story he tells there with the producers, which was Menachem Golan at the time he was working with, and he said he had Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing, and one other horror person. I can't remember who it was. Was it Vincent Price? Vincent Price, Peter Cushing, and Christopher Lee he had. And Menachem Golan said, Peter, why can't you get Boris Karloff? And Peter said, Menachem, Boris Karloff's been dead for many years.
Yeah.
Oh, he said, well, use library material.
Oh, my goodness.
It's very funny. But Peter is a very, very funny raconteur. You ought to get hold of him. And because he's very entertaining, very amusing when he talks about the business.
He's quite fit, is he? And well.
Oh God, yes, he's very fit and well. He was
very
he's younger than me,
remember him.
He's younger than me. Oh yes. Oh yeah.
Is
Very
he still
rich.
thin gentleman?
Very rich.
Yes,
he's
he
done
should be.
very, very well. I mean, we have very similar paths that we've trod, and we've been friendly for a long time. But he's very amusing. I mean, you should get him in, because I tell you, you get him talking. I mean, never mind about me. I mean, he's because he was a stand-up comic, you know, originally at the Gargoyle Club. Do you know that? Oh yes.
Was he really?
Yes, he was.
Good
And,
Lord.
he'll tell you a tale or two, and you know, he knows all the characters in the business.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, perhaps when you next see him, you can introduce him to us.
Of course I will, with pleasure.
Okay, well, I think it's a very good point to wind it up. But so your activities of today are supplying
Equipment to people who are silly enough to want to make movies.
Yeah. Very good.
No, I mean, I do. We are very serious. We're into all the new technology. It's very, very complex. It's got very complex now. I have people now that do all that for me. I mean, I'm not into all that.
No.
Editing on computers and things like that. I've one or two. I mean, it's an interesting way of keeping in touch with the business.
Yeah.
I mean, we've just done Angela's Ashes with Jerry Hamblin, who's a very famous editor who works on a moviola still, you know. Strangely enough, we did with Michael Kahn, who's Spielberg's editor. I met. It was very interesting. We supplied him with the moviolas. They came over here the year before last, and we serviced their production, Saving Private Ryan. And Michael Kahn and Spielberg use moviolas. He won't use computers unless it's for special effects and sort of viewing things and all that. They cut on moviolas, and there's old Michael Kahn cutting on a moviola. He said, I don't know about computers. He said, and there are a lot of very experienced, but I'm afraid that the linear form of editing, i.e. the film, is going out very fast. It's more or less mostly computers now. And I don't know, progress. I don't know if it's progress or not. I mean, it's certainly not cheaper. I see it's more expensive than editing on film. It's not quicker, and it doesn't improve the quality, because you can't improve the editing's a process. What it does do, it gives a lot of people a lot of opportunity to interfere, because it's easy to change things and have different versions. Yeah. And it's more becoming a committee edit. And I see it. We make more money on recuts than we do on the original movie when we do it. And we do all the big ones. We do all the big movies.
Well, we'll have to wind down now, because we've got the signal from our boss, or the chap in charge here, who came in and gave us a wave.
These, okay. Have you cut?
No, still get cut now.
Excuse me. Excuse me. You got my plunger.
What?
Well, it's stuck to your heart. Well, I'll have to have it back.
Do you mind?
Well, I've got to get it back.
Okay, everyone, it's time to go fishing. Now, you all know the rules. Each one of you has to fish for his or her partner, and once you've hooked them, they yo's for the night. 1, 2, 3, everyone into the water! You're not a plumber, you're a thief. The police! Somebody ring for the police!
I'm not a thief. It belongs to me.
Belongs to you. It's mine. There's not another like it in the whole wide world.
Your bleeding Picasso's hanging on the wall. Turn around, have a look.
What's that doing there, then?
Well, it's not worth tuppence. It's a copy.
A copy? I know what you were gonna do.
He's killed her. He's done her in.
Oh, you got it.
No, I didn't get it.
Why not?
There was a party going on, and one thing led to another, and I didn't do the swap. Look, Dodger, I'm not interested in any more of your little schemes. As much as I need the money, I don't fancy spending next Christmas inside.
Oh, well, Sidney, remember the old saying, if at first you don't succeed, try again.
I'm not trying anything else. That's final.
Oh, that's a shame, Sidney. Because I've got a smasher here. You couldn't go wrong with this one. Tower of London.
Dodger, stuff it. Morning.
Morning.
Do you buy bikes?
Yeah.
Or what about this mitre machine out here, don't I?
I'll have a look at it.
Done a lot of mileage, innit? Just goes to show how honest I am. I could have easily fixed the clock.
Tyres are well worn.
Oh, come on. What's a couple of tyres?
We want part exchange.
Well, no, I've got to sell it, actually. I don't want to, but I've got no choice.
Need money in a hurry, do you?
No. I know this geezer who's selling a sports car. Real bargain. But unless I give him the money today, no go.
Where's the registration book? Any hire purchase on it?
Yeah, why?
How many payments you made?
2. You can't sell it. It's not yours to sell. Well, it's my property. I bought it, didn't I? It's not your property until you've made the last payment. You mean I can't sell it anywhere? It's not yours to sell. You try selling that bike to anybody else, and you'll get put inside.
Oh, you're not going away.
Yeah, I've come to say goodbye. I've got myself a job on one of them oil rigs. I'll be earning thousands.
Suppose that's good news. When'd you leave?
Today.
Wish I could come with you.
Well, I'll be back in a few months. My pockets will be bulging. We'll have a great time. Go everywhere, see everything.
20 Daniels, please.
Just going down the bank. Get the money.
That's all right. We'll walk down there with you. Keep you company. Won't we, Stropper?
You still don't trust me, do you, eh? I'm not going to emigrate. It's only £1,000.
Well, that's all right. We'll still walk down there with you. Governor's orders.
Yeah, well, you don't have to put yourselves out.
You sound like you don't want us with you, Sid. You're not trying anything on, are you? Don't tear his clothes. They'll be worth a few quid when we get them off him. On second thoughts...
Come on, Blackie, the bank will be closed.
So what? You ain't got nothing in it. I ain't thick. What's in the bag?
Well, it's my laundry. I passed the laundry on the way to the bank.
Open it up. You're dead right. You ain't emigrating. They don't take cripples in these foreign countries. Stropper, your moment has come.
I never did you any harm.
I didn't say you did. It's my job, innit?
You never gave me a chance. You didn't give me enough time.
You're breaking me bleeding heart. Stropper! Mister, it's a private business.
My apologies, but I have to speak to Mr. South.
So do we, and we saw him first.
I'm from the Bovine Insurance Company.
He won't be needing any. Push off.
Oh, I'm not selling insurance.
Yeah, but I know you.
I was at the police station when you made a statement about that lavatory seat.
Oh, that's right, yeah. I remember.
I'm pleased to inform you, Mr. South, that you are due for the reward. £1,000 for giving information leading to the recovery of stolen property. Now, if you just sign this receipt.
Turn your back, Stropper.
My apologies for the interruption, gentlemen. Good day.
£1,000.
Where's your bank?
Mr. Rockefeller! Hello, boy. I heard all about your windfall.
Yeah, so did the bookies. Took the lot. Come on, Crappy, I'm back in the market. Got anything?
Nothing. Get out.
I'm desperate. I'll do anything.
Anything? Oh, God. Anything?
Yeah.
I've got something to show you.
What is it?
It's a new mechanical pipe and drain cleaner. I'm starting a new service.
Trains?
Yeah.
Not with me, you're not.
Hang about. I was thinking of putting you in sole charge of this.
Only because you can't get anyone else.
No. No! Oh, look here, look, somebody's got to do it, ain't they? There'll be a good rate of pay, plenty of overtime.
All right.
Good boy. You get to learn how to handle that machine, boy, you'll earn a lot of money. Yeah, it doesn't work 10 times faster. Here, try it out on our drains here. Get a bit of practice.
Hello, stranger.
What you, Suze? Yeah, well, life has been a bit complicated lately.
Yeah, I know. I heard all about your troubles. Hey, we are still friends, aren't we?
Yeah, of course we're still friends. Here, flick that switch, will you?